I want to talk, obviously, about what's happened in the last few days with Iran. You know, I think one of the questions is, obviously, you have this country that is a sovereign nation, but in many ways a bad actor. How would you go about, if you were president, trying to de-escalate the current situation with Iran?
Well, you know, the first job of the President of the United States is to keep America safe. And this president has gone in exactly the opposite direction. And he started in 3 years ago when he tore up the Iran nuclear deal that Iran had agreed not to advance its nuclear program. Our allies wanted America to stay in it, but instead Donald Trump tore it up. And he's just had a series of escalating attacks. And now, with the killing of Soleimani, we're in a place where we've stopped our actions against ISIS. We now have a president who is tweeting threats of war crimes. We've had to pull all of the Americans out of the area, all the civilians. This is not making America safer. And what it's really doing, and we really have to talk about this is moving us closer to the very edge of war. Americans don't want a war with Iran. And this is the moment. Americans need to speak up loudly and say, no more war in the Middle East. It's time to have peace in the Middle East. We need to get out of this.
You know, it does seem like we're living in an era where there is an expansion of presidential powers. You know, Congress has less to say about what wars we're in, how those wars are fought. And, you know, from President Obama to President Trump, a lot of what they ran on was no more wars, which has not been the case. How do you as president actually go about, you know, keeping a campaign promise that has been made now a couple of times about we're not going to do this anymore?
Well, part of it is you have to think about the use of our military. We have the finest military on earth. All three of my brothers served in the military. Our military will do anything we ask them to do. They will make any sacrifice. But that means the commander-in-chief has to understand that we should not ask our military to try to solve problems that cannot be solved militarily. We have to be willing to use our diplomatic tools. We have to be willing to use our economic tools. We have to be willing to work with our allies. We have to be willing to do the quiet, careful work of back channels, to work together. Remember, Iran, yes, a nation that takes many bad acts, but working with our allies, we got them to the negotiating table. We got them to agree to give up advancing their nuclear program. We can make diplomacy work, but it's hard work, it's painstaking work, but it's something I will be committed to as Commander-in-Chief.
I want to ask you about this as well. We've actually had some of your, I believe multiple former students of yours are actually in Congress now. We've had some of them on the show. Is it
Katie Porter?
Katie Porter
she was on not so long ago. She's fab.
She's fabulous,
Yep.
and very
Kennedy.
very well prepared when she questions people in front of
Katie's
Congress.
always well prepared.
That's good. And was it important as a student in Elizabeth Warren, Professor Warren's class, to be well prepared?
Oh yes, if you wanted to get out with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a worst case scenario, hypothetically, for a student in one of your classes who was unprepared? I mean, was there a way to sit in the back and just not get called on?
Ask Joe Kennedy that question.
Oh, Joe Kennedy? Didn't go well for Joe Kennedy? What's it like? I mean, it must be
that
proud.
That first day in law school was his whole life. You know, in front of him, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's why I wouldn't even go to law school for that reason. That sounds so terrifying.
No, but it was fun.
And is it fun running into the former students as colleagues now?
So, you know, I think of this as one of these big divisions between Donald Trump and me. The people from my former life are really rising stars in public service, and the people from Donald Trump's former life are rising stars in prison.
Yeah, that's a difference. That's a difference.
It's
yeah, that's a considerable difference. It seems like obviously it's been on pause. We're in this situation where you know, impeachment has happened, but it is not. It's in this weird sort of. Whatever you would call it.
I'd like to think impeachment is never normal.
Yeah, it's not right.
Yeah,
It's weird how it's become normal. It's like, yeah, there's an impeachment, whatever. It's live your life. How, do you feel like there's any, if you can picture a month from now, 2 months from now, any chance the Republicans in the Senate are going to ever change their minds about what the president has been accused of?
You know, I see the Republicans in the Senate thus far as spineless, as entirely captured by some combination of their own right wing and Fox News and terrified of this president. But there are a whole lot of people out there in this country. And the more people speak up, the more people bring pressure to bear, the more you at least try to get some basic fairness in the system. You know, right now, Donald Trump is refusing to let people come in and testify, and Mitch McConnell's backing him up on this, who have firsthand knowledge of what happened in the phone call with Ukraine and then what happened subsequently. And it makes no headlines right now, but the Trump administration has refused lawful court orders now that they're supposed to produce documents. You know, however you feel about the president, we got to have some shared notion that we all took the same oath. And that's an oath not to an individual, not to a political party, but an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And that means we need to go forward with this impeachment trial. We need the witnesses. We need the documents, just so we can have an open and fair trial. And then let everybody vote. And here's the deal. Live with that vote for the rest of your life.
All right. Sounds like a plan. You have a lot of those. Senator Elizabeth Warren, everybody.